Hi there, and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism. I am your host, Karen Thomas, and I want to thank you so much for being here and being a proactive parent and getting the resources that you need to let your child live their most fulfilling and independent life possible. When my own son was diagnosed with autism, I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, and there was nothing else that we could do for him but manage his symptoms the rest of his life. But I didn't want to do that. Fortunately, my background in craniosacral therapy of now 30 years let me know that the brain can and does heal, but I didn't know that much about autism. What I did know is that I didn't want to just mask the symptoms with dangerous drugs. I wanted to find the causes and work with them naturally. And fast forward, it took me a decade and a lot of time and effort, but today my son is no longer diagnosable with autism after being told it could not happen. So I'm here to share with you valuable resources to save you the time and some of the expense that I had to spend to figure it out, and to help you let your child lead to their best results possible. Every child's level of recovery is different, but we know that children who couldn't sleep through the night are sleeping now through the night and happily. Their immune systems are now strong where they were once sick all the time. Children who were nonverbal and their parents were told they could never speak are now speaking. Children who were getting D's and F's in school are getting A's and B's, and those that were so anxious all the time and couldn't sit still and were uncomfortable in their own bodies are now calm and happy and relaxed, and they're leading fulfilling and independent lives with friends. This is what we want for our kids. So I'm here to share the resources with you so that you can get the best results for your child, the best possible. And you can start that right now with my free download of the top 7 foods to eliminate beginning today, of the top foods that are the most inflammatory and toxic that are contributing to those physical and behavioral symptoms of autism that your child is having. They're making his life uncomfortable. So you can get that right now at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/7 foods. And feel free to share that with anybody you know who would be interested. And I will also link to it in today's show notes. There's, of course, a lot more than diet, but this is something you could start doing today that will begin to reduce those symptoms. And I'm happy to share everything I can with you. So right now, let's dive into today's episode. With children with autism, we always have to be making sure that we are supporting their detoxification pathways. And we have to start by strengthening that foundation. And of course, it begins with diet and getting the right diet going so you're not giving more toxins or creating more inflammation. And then we need also certain supplementation. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today is mitochondrial dysfunction in autism. And this is podcast episode number 223, so any notes will be there for you. But I wanted to make sure that we covered the importance of knowing what mitochondrial dysfunction is, how we can use a supplement to help support it, and how it is so beneficial in the process of detoxifying your child safely and naturally. So mitochondria give cells over 90% of their energy, and without proper energy, the cells can't carry out their functions. So what is it? This is mitochondrial dysfunction versus mitochondrial disease. So mitochondrial dysfunction simply means that the mitochondria are not working correctly. This is very, very common in children with autism. Mitochondrial disease is the term when the primary cause of mitochondrial dysfunction resides in the mitochondria. Mitochondrial disease is generally genetic, and it can be inherited from either or both parents. So we have basically weakened detox pathways. A special type of mitochondrial disease is caused by mutations in the mitochondrial DNA and is inherited only from the mother. When the primary cause of mitochondrial dysfunction resides outside the mitochondria, mitochondrial dysfunction is called secondary to something else. So mitochondria is basically the cell's energy source. So when your cells are not able to function properly, we're going to have a lot of symptoms like knowing cellular energy is necessary for the function of all the cells It's particularly critical for nerve and muscle. So both nerve and muscle are important in GI function. Cyclic vomiting, if your child has ever had that, could be very, very related to mitochondrial dysfunction. Constipation, because again, with it giving the energy to the cells, including the muscles, then the bowels don't have enough energy to push the stool through. So constipation can be common. Also diarrhea, poor GI mobility, being able to push the food through, and other digestive disorders are really common. Additional potential complications of mitochondrial dysfunction include chronic fatigue, neuropathic pain, depression, autistic regression, seizures, hypoglycemia, visual and hearing difficulty, depression, anxiety, panic disorders, intellectual disability, and other disorders related along those lines. Some of the things that can trigger mitochondria or mitochondrial dysfunction also can be genetic, but even that has to be triggered. Genes are a blueprint, and they do need to be triggered by something. The disease is often triggered by something environmental. When we've talked a lot about toxins and other pathogens and things that we're exposed to, these are all things that trigger mitochondrial dysfunction. Of course, viruses are big. Viral infections are among the most common triggers of mitochondrial dysfunction. Additional potential triggers are infections, and it's very common, as I've talked about before, for most kids or many to have Lyme disease. So Lyme bacteria can do this. Vaccinations, toxins, anesthesia, and other significant stressors. In order of situations, mitochondrial dysfunction is acquired. So in fact, things like stroke and heart attack are very involved in mitochondrial dysfunction. In fact, the supplement that I'll even link to here on the show notes for one that is a good one is ubiquinol is a high form of CoQ10, and that has been very well studied and is very, very much helpful for mitochondrial dysfunction and building mitochondria. But there's a lot of research around strokes and heart attacks and people who are susceptible benefiting from supplementing with things like CoQ10 and ubiquinol to help their mitochondrial dysfunction. These cells now they're not receiving sufficient oxygen for required energy metabolism. So these are part of the problems. And a lot of environmental toxins can poison mitochondria as well, including things like pesticides. So we have to be very careful. Now, treating it is pretty simple. The good news is that mitochondrial dysfunction is basically generally treated. And about 80% of people with mitochondrial dysfunction improve on proper treatment, including people with autism. And of course, this requires a broad-based treatment approach with strong foundational aspects, including good diet, other supplements, toxin binders, making sure you're supporting those detox pathways, you're working with all of the pathogens and co-infections, exercise, adequate sleep, avoidance of new environmental triggers, and more. So of particular importance, again, is a combination of dosages of specific supplements, including things that are have a good bioavailable form of coenzyme Q10, which again, its most absorptive form is called ubiquinol. You also might see L-carnitine and riboflavin, which is vitamin B2, and vitamin C, alpha-lipoic acid, vitamin D, and a few others. And this is important to understand that all of these factors are important, but CoQ10 and ubiquinol is a pretty simple way to help build that as we are strengthening the body's natural detox pathways, which is the most important piece of all, because we want the body to function best on its own, and it needs support to get there. So you can get my free guide to this on the show notes page at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/223. And I walk parents through the A to Z, so you know what to do and make sure that you don't miss any important pieces, because you do want to make sure that you get the optimum results in your autism recovery journey, and making sure that your child is able then to live to their full potential, because it's all about really helping our children be happy and healthy and living their best quality of life possible. I hope this has been helpful for you. My resources always are here available to help you on this journey and get the best results again for your child's best life. Thanks again for being here. Take care, and I'll see you soon.